A very good afternoon and thank you for joining us right here on NTV. My name is Romeo Busiku. We are going to be talking about the Agriculture Cluster Development Project that was initiated by the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries right here on the show. I do have the Minister of Agriculture, Mr. Bamulangachi Vincent Sempija, and he's right here in studio with me. I also have the project manager, of the Agriculture Cluster Development Project, that is Mr. Henry Opolot. He's also right here in studio. But before we get into the nitty-gritties of this show today, I'd like to let you know how the ACDP, the Agriculture Cluster Development Project, is changing lives all over the country. Right now, the project is actually a pilot study in 57 districts. So let's take a look at what's happening with some of the farmers in Bujiri and how they are benefiting, and then we shall delve into the details of this conversation.
Bujiri district is located 75 kilometers from Iganga town in eastern Uganda. As you approach the district headquarters, you'll find the district demonstration farm where experts teach rural farmers how to improve productivity. The people in Bujiri mainly grow maize and rice, which are both food and cash crops. Previously, many people in Bujiri grew cotton, which they have since abandoned. This maize garden has the right spacing. The authorities used some inputs such as fertilizers and pesticides here. Paul Moses Isiko is the Bujiri District Production Officer.
When we are giving farmers inputs, we saw it fit that it is good to test what we are giving somebody. We use this area as, first of all, the farmers who got the seed, we called them here, to explain to them how they should plant. The spacing, the fertilizer application, the depth of the hole, the number of seeds which we put in each hole, so that when they go back, they should not mess up. But also under this project, there is a grievous redress mechanism. So we are also using this demonstration to handle the grievances which are brought out by our farmers in relation to the seed, to the management and the yield. They will see and believe that probably if a farmer gets around 8 to 10 bags per acre, it may be his mistake. Because we are expecting not less than 20 bags per acre here. The people are appreciating this project, because the yield actually has been raised from the 4 bags we used to get, the 5, to a minimum of 12. But last season, we have farmers who were able, actually one farmer in Mterere sub-county, she got 27 bags per acre.
But what has to be done to maximize the maize yield?
The spacing, the fertilizer application, the depth of the hole, the number of seeds which we put in each hole.
In the past, the farmers had challenges not only with bad yields, but also the storage of their produce. However, the Agriculture Cluster Development Project adequately addressed these challenges, and the change is noticeable.
We have 9 farmer organizations or groups, stroke or cooperatives, who have benefited under the matching grant.
With the help of the cluster program, the farmers can now add value to their grains. This had always been a big problem in post-harvest handling, especially with the ever-present challenge of aflatoxins.
We are getting mills, maize mills, rice mills, also to add value. And we want this Bujiri to be a center of excellence for highest quality portion and highest quality rice. You will see it in your supermarkets in Kampala.
Kitegalwa village in Buunga sub-county is located about 10 kilometers from Bujiri town. Here, what welcomes you towards the village center are sprawling rice fields. The rice grown in this swamp is thriving, which means that the crop does well in waterlogged environment. This is Mr. Musa Kanunu, a member of Kateigara Rice Farmers and Marketing Cooperative Society, which has 252 members. We found the husband to three weeding with one of his wives in one of his various rice farms. This rice plantation sits on 3 acres, and Mr. Kanunu explained what he does in growing rice.
You have to first prepare your field. You have to slash. After slashing, you have to dig. What we do, we call first plowing. You have to do the second plowing. Then from there you do leveling. After leveling, you come with your nursery bed already, which you have already established about 21 days before to leveling. After leveling, you have to get your seedlings, then we plant in lanes.
As he waits, it is not easy for the uninitiated to differentiate between rice and the weeds.
Me, I have the experience since 1998. I've been growing rice. I can identify, differentiate the rice and the weed.
Rice farmers are part of the group Agriculture Cluster Development Project is targeting to help them increase production and quality of this most sought-after food crop.
They offer us a good variety of rice seeds, which is a bit resistant to diseases. They give us fertilizers, they give us the chemicals to spray their pesticides. They gave me inputs worth 450,000 shillings, but me, I contributed 148,500 shillings.
To the layman, such a waterlogged plantation does not need fertilizers.
We had a feeling that when you put fertilizers into the soil, it spoils the soil. So we were not in good terms with the fertilizers, not until we were trained.
Under the project, farmers get inputs worth over 500,000 shillings after contributing 180,500 shillings.
My production has gone a bit high because initially I was growing rice and I could get in an acre around 700 kilograms of mid rice, 700, 800, and I could praise myself that I've got. But since I joined the SDP, I've managed to raise 1,300 to 1,500.
The yellow motor virus can infest rice, but thanks to ACD, farmers can get pesticides as part of the package to tackle this virus.
When your field is attacked by that disease, you can even get a half of what you are supposed to get in an acre.
Kanunu began growing rice in 1998, but he had never met his needs for selling the rice until recently with the ACD. Mr. Kanunu's group got 267 million shillings under the matching grant. Government contributed 180 million shillings to match with 88 million shillings from the farmers, which they are now using to construct a mill and a store.
We wanted to have a rice mill which can at least add value to our rice so that we can sell it to big traders.
Kanunu now produces enough to sell and the surplus for the family to eat. His life and that of his family members have improved significantly.
It has improved on my standards of living in a way that initially I could get 700 kilograms of rice, and what I was leaving for my family for consumption was little, because what I was getting was little. I had to get money to pay school fees, health care. So what I was living, at times I could even live nothing. So, but right now I can live about 50 to 100 kilograms of milled rice for the family consumption.
He speaks for thousands of farmers who have benefited from the Agriculture Cluster Development Project.
You wouldn't believe, but the Agriculture Cluster Development Project has really changed my, lives by a margin. If you look at those stories from Bujidi, those people's lives were really transformed. They had their own stereotypes, but then they got some help from ACDP. Now they know what to do and how to, improve their yields. In studio, I do have the Minister of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, Honorable Vincent Sempija. And I also have the project manager of the Agriculture Cluster Development Project, that is Mr. Henry Opolot on the far left. He also joins us in studio. Very good afternoon, gentlemen. Let me start with the project manager, Mr. Henry Opolot. I'm sure you have a lot to tell us about the Agriculture Cluster Project, what it is, and what we should look out for.
Thank you, Romeo. Good evening, viewers. So, Agriculture Cluster Development Project, that is abbreviated as ACDP, is a government project implemented by the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries with the support from the World Bank. So, it's a 6-year project which was approved way back in 2015 by the World Bank Board, and the Parliament approved it in 2016, and it became effective in 2018, and officially we hit the ground reaching the farmer in 2018. So the project is funded by up to $150 million, the loan facility from the World Bank to the country, and its key objective is to raise on-farm production and productivity of and production and marketable volumes for 5 commodities specifically. That is rice, maize, beans, cassava, and coffee in 57 districts of the country. The 57 districts are clustered into 12 clusters, each cluster having about 3 to 7 districts grouped together, and they're producing at least 2 of those commodities given the different agroecological zones and what does best in which zone. And the project is targeting to cover about 450,000 farmers in its project duration, which comprise about 3,000 rural producer organizations. These are farmer groups across the country, and is really working through projects. The project has 4 components, but the key ones are component 1, which targets us enhancing on-farm production and productivity by supporting farmers in accessing production enhancing inputs like quality seed or planting materials, that is cassava cuttings for the sake of cassava, fertilizer, pesticides, herbicides where required, and then in terms of managing the quality of the harvest at household level, also provides as inputs the tarpaulins for drying, and then hematic bags for storing, for storage. You know, the hematic bags, they're kind of special bags which we have in the market that can help the farmer to store the grain for even up to 6 months, even without using any chemical, any storage chemical. So we have that as the input package for supporting on-farm production and productivity. The second component is on value addition and market access. Here we're talking about supporting farmers with matching grants, farmer groups with the matching grants where they can set up or acquire storage and value addition equipment or facilities. Again, here, we're trying to support the farmer manage the post-harvest handling, storage and validation of their harvest, where there have been lots of losses all along. And the farmers put up stores, they acquire milling machines, so they add value. Instead of them selling grain, they actually sell, we tend to support them so they sell value-added products. In a way, you want them to get a little bit more of the income from the value chains they're engaged in, and that's what we call vertical integration in the value chains. And then the other element in that component too is supporting the farmers access the markets by making sure the roads,
The road chocks.
where there are road chocks, they are repaired, such that the farmer, these road chocks, you identify them in a way that the road should connect. An area of high production should connect to the market or connect to a bulking or value addition facility. So this issue of vehicles failing to go and pick up farmers' produce or farmers failing to transport their produce should be resolved under this project.
Because you might, have the best yield but not have the transportation to get it from your garden to the market.
Absolutely.
Very, very good argument. I also have the Minister of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries. That is Honorable Vincent Sempi Jabamulangaji.
Thank you very much.
Now, who is participating and how do they actually benefit from this scheme?
Okay. In this scheme and this project, the Agricultural Development, Cluster Development Project, for the beginning, we decided to start with the small farmers who join together to form groups, farmer groups. Sometimes we call them cooperatives or producer organizations, and doing one enterprise or two. So the word cluster comes from that element.
The cluster of people.
The cluster of people. It was, at the beginning, as you know, one of the problems that we have had. Each farmer was doing their own things. Even if they did the same, they produced the same crop or engaged in the same enterprise in the area. See, each one is using different agronomical practices. Each one looking for fertilizers in their own way. Each one looking for seeds in their own way. We are handling all of this in this agriculture cluster development project. The farmers know where to get the right quality seeds, the right, and of course, quality fertilizers. They are right, they are good, they are, everything is on standard. So this is the farmer. So this farmer is therefore connected to the input dealer. But this farmer also is also known by government, and they also know their government. They also know the extension, and the extension knows them. So the farmers, you have known from the coordinator that they are registered, and once they are registered, their group is also registered. They are registered within the group, but also the group is also registered within the project. So each farmer in that group is known, is registered, what they are doing, where they are doing it, how much they are doing, and what type of enterprise they have gone into. So you can see that is a new, this is a new era in agriculture, where we need to know the farmers. Originally, when you talk about registration, sometimes in farmers, it creates a lot of things. But now, the participating districts have already known what what government intends to do. And you can see that at a later stage, once you cluster, people produce one or two, three enterprises in the same way, in known quantities, volumes. Then you are looking at value addition. You even know how much they will produce and how much you need and what you need to add value to what they have produced. Like they need that infrastructure, the road. If there are 1,000 farmers out there, or 300 farmers in an area where they are not linked, well linked to the main roads, then their crop will certainly will not be bought. So all of this is looked at in this cluster development project. Yes.
If you're just joining us, we are talking about the status of the agriculture cluster development project that is helping farmers in Uganda. Even during the lockdown, yes, if you're in a cluster, you can actually reach out to the agriculture cluster development project and you'll get some reprieve. I also understand there's so many cycles, but the project coordinator, that is Henry Opolot, will be exploring that after this short break. We'll be right back. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. We are taking a look at the status of the agriculture cluster development project that was mounted by the Ministry of Agriculture, that is Animal Industry and Fisheries, with the help of the World Bank, which remitted $150 million. So there's a lot of money for all the farmers in the country. They've only used only a quarter of the money. They still have all the money. So if you're right there, please just sit, stay calm, and get all the details. I have the Minister himself of Agriculture, Mr. Vincent Bamulangachi Sempija, and I also have his project coordinator, that is Henry Opolot. Mr. Henry Opolot, let's talk about the different cycles of the agriculture cluster development project so that the farmer out there, the would-be farmer or the farmer already, can get to know.
Thank you, Romeo. As said earlier, the farmers have to access inputs, but not free inputs. They have to co-fund the inputs. They have to pay a percentage of the total cost of the package that they need for production for an acre of that commodity that they choose to work on. And first, as you said, who should benefit, as the minister highlighted, is a small-scale farmer who should be in a group, and then should be a Ugandan national and should have a national ID, and that is our identifier. We don't give to farmers that are not known. That's identifying the system, and should be willing to really co-fund. And therefore, the project is supporting farmers over 3 seasons, 3 cropping seasons. So in the first season, the farmer contributes 33% of the total cost for the input package that she wishes to take, and the project contributes 67%.
In the first cycle?
In the first season, the first cycle. Then the second cycle, it is a 50-50. The farmer 50%.
In the first cycle, what is the estimate in the first cycle?
Because right now the total subsidy package is 450,000 shillings. So 33% of that is about 148,000. That is what the farmer pays, and the balance is paid by the project. And then the second cycle, the package is still 450,000. The farmer pays 50%, the project pays 50%. And then in the third season, as the farmer continues to graduate to knowing how to use improved inputs and doing business, farming as a business, now the project pays the 33%, and then the farmer contributes the big amount. There, the farmer is being weaned off.
That's where the viewer would like to understand the rationale that guided that decision. In the first cycle, I'm going to pay 33%. Second cycle, 50-50 with the government. The third cycle, the tables turn, and the farmer is paying 67, and the government 33%. What guided that rationale?
That guided because you're introducing this like a new concept to the farmer, and you're saying like the farmer has been in low productivity. So in the first cycle, you want to give him a little bit more so that he's able to produce more at a lower cost. So in the second cycle, it's expected the farmer will be able to save more and keep investing a little bit, an increased amount. And then in the third cycle, he's really doing business. He has harvested, he has sold, and he has saved money now to meet a bigger percentage of the input cost. And therefore now in the fourth cycle, the farmer is weaned off and say that he has now learned, he has appreciated the benefits of using quality purchased inputs, and is now willing to invest in agricultural production to enhance his productivity in a bid to get more harvest, as we're talking about, to get marketable volumes. So that he's ensuring his food security, but having more for the market. So now there he will have known the benefits and is able to invest. And that is what it is actually demonstrating the value of using quality purchased inputs and trying to change the mindset. So you start slowly. Give inputs at a lower cost so that the farmer appreciates. And as you go on producing and is seeing really the benefits, he's able to say, accept now to pull money to pay for inputs. Our duty is to ensure he actually accesses quality inputs that bring up the yield, so that when we do the mathematics, you do the benefit cost analysis, the farmer will see, yes, there is making money in agriculture and is able to invest in inputs instead of doing the traditional farming, which you spend a lot more energy. At the end of the day, you don't harvest much.
Indeed. Honorable Bamlangachi, why should a farmer use the e-voucher? That is the $64,000 question.
Thank you very much. By the way, I want to inform our dear viewers that in this agriculture cluster development project, the salient feature of this project is that farming, agriculture is a business. So the farmer, as we target the small farmers, who originally are known to be subsistence farmers, are known to be small farmers, sometimes with no aim of getting a profit on what they are doing, on what they are farming. So this ACDP this ACDP wants certainly to change this. Those people you talk about, 68% of our population who are farming subsistently just for eating, we are changing them to business. So this is not just a straightforward thing. First, there must be a lot of training for our farmers. There is a lot of extension work. Extension concentrates in that cluster, in that area where the project is being implemented. Then, of course, the farmers, you don't just pick a phone and you do it. They are also trained to do it. And they are trained also to guard against hackers and all these other fellows who may misuse the e-voucher system. But on the other hand also, they are accessing quality inputs. It's a very important question that we have been facing in this country. Now the input dealers who are participating are obliged. They have to provide, they have to supply inputs of good quality. Otherwise, the farmer is registered, the farmer knows to record, they know what to, they know this time they are closer to the input dealer, so they know who supplied. So once anything goes wrong, then it is easy for government to know.
Because everything is electronic.
Everything is electronic. There is no shortcut. There is no middleman. Really, the farmer, sometimes the time that was wasted
looking for
input, then they go into, they run into these funny people who do the faking, who adulterate. So the farmers lose out. But this time, these are known input dealers, known by government, certified by government. There's no way you will supply a farmer with.
Because it's the government procuring the inputs for the farmer.
Yes, for the farmer. Everybody is there. So at some stage, we are going to get rid of these fake inputs. And if there is a mistake, it can really be followed. Either way.
Yes.
If there is a mistake, the farmer is known, is registered, we know where he is, we know his phone number, registration number, we know his village. So just in one day, we have known what went wrong. Was it the agronomical practices or was it the input? So the whole system really works very well with this. We also have, we have not talked about, we are talking about farming, but we're also talking about these people getting together. You know, farm organizations, cooperatives have been failing because of you get people who are doing different things, and you put them together. They have different interests. They have different agendas. But now, people who are doing the same enterprise, they really need market, all of them. So they will participate. They will participate in all this. They will listen to the extension. Then you at the end of the day, you can even go into, and this cluster development project, where we are going to, I think the doctor will inform us which areas we have started with. Once they enter this project, they start participating, they start producing. Then we think about processing. We think about storage. He has talked about the hermetic bags, but we are also going to use this fund, this funding, to have storage, better storage for the community.
For post-harvesting.
For post-harvest handling, and even maintaining the standards.
Indeed.
Because now you know the issues of aflatoxins, have these issues of farmers losing everything during harvest and after harvest. All of this will be part of the project.
Indeed.
Yes.
Mr. Henry Opolot, of course, when we talk about the electronic voucher management system, we talk about internet use, and it's not news that in Uganda there is low internet penetration, especially in the rural areas where most of these farmers you're targeting are residing. So what are you doing to rectify that situation?
Thank you, Romeo. Yes, there's a need for internet, but we're relying on these telecom companies. And at least there is a quite wider coverage of the telecom companies across the country. And of course, there are still pockets of where there can be weak network. But advice we have is that the community, the extension workers always identify spots where the network is stronger, and that is where most activities that require network are undertaken, like doing the ordering and then the redemption of inputs. So there is that strong collaboration to make sure that we rely on these telecom service providers, who are especially the MTN, the Airtel, mostly. And I think there is very good coverage. And so far, the system is working. There are times, of course, when there are downtimes in these networks, the network has gone down, but the farmers can be informed. It is still inconveniencing a bit for the farmers to always keep coming sometimes, and maybe you have come from about 5 kilometers away, they have hired the border to come, and those are still some challenges. But I think as going forward, one, of course, the telecom companies are also working hard to make sure they serve the customers, because mobilizing about 450,000 farmers, I mean, the telecoms also see that as business. So it is in their interest to strengthen their networks across the country. But what we're saying is identifying what we're calling redemption centers in the meantime, so the farmers know. And of course, with this communication, farmers are always alerted where they communicate between the agro-input dealers, the extension workers, and themselves. They know where to go to redeem their inputs, and at the time where the network is up. So we try to work with that. And of course, there are different ways of, say, maybe the farmers are getting enrolled. So if the network is down, but the agent will be enrolling, and when he moves to an area where there is network, the information is uploaded automatically. Those kind of systems help us to really make sure the farmers are served.
So besides low internet penetration, what are some of the other challenges that have impeded the operations of the Agriculture Cluster Development Project?
Well, Romeo, as we said earlier, the project is a using novel approaches, really. One, by now we should have covered about 200,000 farmers, but we are still under 100,000 because the farmers have been for a long time being used to free inputs. So now introducing the idea of farmers cost sharing or paying for inputs is still new. Farmers are still not used to that. In addition, you find that There are also other programs still that could be giving free inputs to the farmers. So the farmer considers, oh, why do I pay now 148,000 when there are free inputs? So that one makes the farmers, they're coming slowly, responding to the program. But now when they see, if you trace now from where we began, you find that they have really picked up because they have seen the benefits of getting quality inputs. Secondly is the issue, of course, of the e-voucher management system. It is a new approach. In Africa, there are not very many. It was only, I think, very functional in Nigeria. It was tried in Kenya and didn't work very well. So it's also the e-voucher system is also new in the country. It was never tried in Uganda before. So even when we engaged the private sector to develop this system and manage it, it was not easy to have it up and running as required. And also, of course, the farmers, their capacity in using the telephones. So it takes a bit of training so that the farmers can know how to order, how to memorize their passwords. So it's those are a bit of the challenges that have been making it to go a little slow. And of course now, so there are agro-input dealers. You find that many were not really prepared to serve the farmers that were mobilized. There are some could have low stocks. So when they start supplying, they run out of stock. Even them with the systems, getting this system also to manage, because they are the ones supposed to be supporting the farmer to make the orders and even to redeem, to give the inputs. Also for them to get used to that system was a challenge. And of course, the market of agro-inputs. Initially, it was assumed by the project design that this being a private sector arrangements, there are already linkages, say, between the importers of agricultural inputs or the producers of seed.
Yes.
So we thought that there are already linkages between these ones in, say, in Kampala with those ones in the rural areas. We found that there was actually no linkage later when we went to implement. Instead, it will be the one in Kampala who is accredited, loading inputs on a truck and going down to trying to move to sub-counties everywhere, and that would cause delays.
I'll get back to you to that issue of the input dealers. Why are we accrediting these agro-input dealers? You'll help us explain that. Honorable Bamlangachi, let's talk about the 57 districts where you've rolled out the Agriculture Cluster Development Project.
Sure.
Is there a plan in the near future to roll out this program into the entire country? I'm talking about the 134 districts in the country.
That's very true. This, the project we are managing now, we are implementing, is a pilot project for the time being. And I want to really emphasize that point mentioned by the doctor, that people are used to free things. But since agriculture is a business, and we are going into serious agriculture in this near future, you have seen what COVID-19 has caused us.
Indeed.
We have to stand on our own. We have to be productive within our country, so that we really build a self-sustaining economy. So we need to so that is why we are starting this project. It's kind of moving away from the free things. I'm the one, I'm in charge of all of them. I'm in charge of all the agencies, but this is the truth. We have to take agriculture seriously. We are going to target very serious markets. And they need clustered people. You can't talk about the Chinese market or European market. When you are producing alone, you have to bring these people together. And they have to be knowledgeable within the, even knowledgeable in those basic ICT issues, so that one know, you follow what is even happening in the market. You follow what goes on within your production area. So that is what is going on. Certainly, the project will change the mindset of our people to understand that we have to. Agriculture is not just a hit and run thing. It is a real business, and we have to organize our people. And it will certainly roll out to all the districts in the country. We have to, government is now babysitting the farmers. You start with the government pays 67% of the cost of the inputs, then you pay 33, then 50, then you pay 67, the government, as government exits, but government is preparing the farmers, first of all, to stand on their own, but also look at things in a different way. Look at things, look at the market. How many people do you need to mobilize to target that market? So the cluster thinking is certainly going to sink in the minds of our people across the country. Yes.
And of course, you're focusing on 5 crops. That is maize, beans,
coffee,
you have coffee, cassava, yes,
rice.
And rice.
Yes.
Now, in the near future, is there a plan to expand the varieties?
Yes, of course. Yes, of course. It's the thinking that we are, the mindset. We are really approaching the minds of our population, and especially the farmers, the small farmers. They will have to, at some stage, they will have gained momentum. And these small farmers can always, our economy has always been supported. For example, we talk about coffee. Most of the coffees, apart from recently Kaweri and others, most of the farmers that have been producing coffee for this economy are small-scale farmers. But in many cases, unconscious of many other aspects that are going on. So the cluster development project is really bringing knowledge to the farmer. Extension must be available all the time. Knowledge using the system, the ICT system, is always available. They will get messages on when to plant, how much is needed in the market, how to manage these. Sometimes you can even handle issues of pesticide control, pest control using the e-system, the email. You just send your question to where it has to go, to the extension staff, to all of these people who are knowledge, who are technicians, and the answer will be back in seconds, in just a few minutes. So we are really putting, the cluster development project is putting agriculture on a different level.
Prioritizing agriculture. Mr. Opolot, why are we accrediting agro-input dealers? What's the significance?
One, it is really a quality assurance measure. We want to know who is supplying what for purposes of traceability, so that when a maize variety is supplied way down in Amuru, or a rice variety, we should know who supplied that to which farmer. And if anything goes wrong, somebody should be responsible. That is basically, we want to know whom we are working with. So that's really a quality assurance measure, and that has resulted into a very good kind of adherence to certain standards. So now you've really find, because we know who is doing what, and by the time we accredit you, we also know you declare your stock. So if you declare the 30,000 tons of maize seed, we don't expect to supply 80,000 tons.
Indeed.
So this is now a quality assurance measure, and it is one thing which is now happening, that agro-input dealers are now conceding to say we don't have stock at a certain point. But previously, they would continue supplying endlessly. What happened? When the certified seed gets over, as long as the demand is still there, they would go and buy grain and color it. But this time around with ACDP, because the farmer is empowered, the farmer knows he's paying for these inputs and has to demand for quality. You don't supply them anything. And we in government know who is supplying. You're supposed to adhere to the standard. So that has been a very good thing why we have these input dealers in the markets, in the accredited, so that we know who is dealing with the farmers, supplying these inputs to the farmers. So it's a quality assurance. That's why they have to be accredited.
And at this time of COVID-19, what is your strategy? The viewer would want to know. What is your strategy during COVID-19 or strong points?
First, I should say during the COVID, I should say we've been lucky that when COVID struck, the project was already on the ground, and it has helped really farmers access production inputs. And really we are very grateful to government and the leadership of the president. Said agriculture as one of the basic real economy must continue. And we also thank the RDCs. The resident district commissioners have been very good. They allowed the extension workers to move, and also the staff from the ministry. The minister wrote to Minister of Works, and they allowed the staff, gave them movement permits, and also the input dealers. So they have been able to really work with the farmers. So at this time, we are still really mobilizing farmers to ensure they enroll, take up inputs, and produce more food, because during and after COVID, the demand for food is going to be huge, within and outside the country. So we're really working more to ensure more farmers get into to produce with the support of the project. So one thing is that we're mobilizing farmers, but of course adhering to the COVID control measures.
Indeed.
We have had to meet more expenses in terms of providing our staff with the protective gear, the masks, the sanitizers. They're also helping the farmers sometimes to move inputs to their gardens since we don't have to bring them in groups as we had been doing before. So there is a lot we have to really work to ensure the project supports to increase production and productivity, so that, as the president said, if we don't do much in agriculture, then we may not have food. And we need to support the population. As the population gets stressed, one thing that must be in place is food. So as a country, and we appreciate so much this project, is one of those interventions that will ensure, at least for the commodities that we are supporting, that should be produced in quantities that should go in a long way, contribute to ensuring our food security, but also supporting our balance of payments in terms of exports. So I think we're really, and of course, not only producing, we are going ahead to ensure what the farmers produce, the quality is maintained through proper post-harvest handling. And we are quickly also putting up storage facilities, which we may discuss another time. The component of matching grants we may require its own show.
Indeed. And
what the idea is, but we're working towards that the farmer produces, handles well the harvest, and adds value. And prepares for the market.
Amazing insight, Mr. Opolot. And let's end with Mr. Bamulangachi's strengths going forward. What are your strengths going forward?
Really, our strengths going forward, one is to get almost all the farmers enrolled in such a project. In our project area, we really want to request the farmers to join others in those production areas, to join the others in those groups. For example, if I talk about Uganga, that cluster has maize, rice,
coffee,
and the coffee, three. In fact, they are the most advantaged cluster. They have three enterprises running now at the same time. So the farmers, including you people, you can go and join one of the producer organization for one of the handling one of the enterprise. But you can't fail to produce coffee, then you fail to produce maize, then you fail to produce rice. One of them certainly will attract you. So in the way I see it, this agenda is first of all going to increase production in our of these, first of all, with the five enterprises, so there have been increase of production. We have been using we have been disorganized in the whole system in terms of provision of inputs, fertilizers. Even if the fertilizers are provided, the soils are not tested. Somebody uses fertilizers which are not even necessary, which are not needed in that area. We have been using fake inputs. We have been using all of this. Now, with the correct use of, by using the correct fertilizers, the best quality, then using the best inputs, the other pesticides and all this, using the best agronomical practices, to me I see that certainly not only production but even productivity.
Not only production but also productivity. I've also been having this question that has been itching since the show began. If I'm in the near future, is there a plan to allow individuals like Romeo Busiku, yes, to actually present plans to the Agriculture Cluster Development Project and have my business plan approved and go ahead with agriculture? Not in the cluster, as an individual.
Yes, of course. Of course, the Minister of Agriculture is not only handling SCDP. This project is moving along with other very, very big arrangements. We have a new approach, which is called the nucleus farmer approach, where we have a bigger farmer becoming the center of everything, the center of technology, the center of mechanization, the center of inputs, and so on and so forth.
And let me put it,
that is one of them.
Let me put it on the record, Honorable Bamlanga Chi. The Agriculture Cluster Development Project is a great project and it's doing wonders for Ugandans. I only hope it can be rolled out to the entire country. Thank you very much for having made the time to speak to NTV. Thank you, Apollo, for coming through. The show has been centered around the status of the Agriculture Cluster Development Project, that is ACDP, under the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries. If you're a farmer out there and you're in a cluster, maybe 5 or 10 people, you can reach out to the ACDP and you'll be able to get some money. You don't have to reach out to them at the office. It's the e-voucher management system. My name is Romeo Busiku. I'll be back here in the morning. Remember, morning at NTV. See you then.